Here's another toothpick contraption that I've been working on over the better part of 2 weeks now. I wanted to show one of the sets of steps necessary in its construction, as all the steps are the same throughout the entire structure. So with this first jig, I am setting up three sides of that square to be oriented normal to the face of that triangle that it's getting connected to. And that triangle is actually a tetrahedron and has this similar shape on each of its sides. The three sides of the square begin to form a triangular prism, and each square has 4 reinforcing struts. And that is one of the purposes of the second jig you see here, which has grooves for 4 sides of the square and 4 reinforcing struts. I will make these jig files available, but after building it this way, I can think of a slightly different way, and I might make a video on improving the build process for this in a slightly related figure that we'll see later. But basically the process goes as you would expect, with lots of gluing and lots of waiting. Here I'm cutting those struts out with a little toothpick miter box that I've used in the past. And on this project, I switched to cutting them with a chisel instead of a utility knife, and that worked a whole lot better. And the glue that I'm using is just like white glue, but it's a bit thicker and is a bit more flexible. So you can kind of see here that there are 2 different orientations that this thing can sit on. One is on the 6 points of the tetrahedrons down there, or it can stand up on the points of the prisms. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. 2 details that I don't really like are that, one, these struts don't technically have enough room for them to both meet in the same place. They should actually have an extra miter on them, which I didn't add. And then adding each of the final layer of tetrahedrons was a bit of a pain. And in the previous shot, you saw the little blue tapes that I had in order to position them in place and capture some of the glue. I had to go back through though and then shave off a bunch of the extra glue. It was just really hard to get it positioned correctly also in that way. So let's swap to the computer and I'll show you an animation of this being constructed and a slight variation that gives it a bit of a twist. Starting with a single tetrahedron, we can extrude each face to become a triangular prism, and then with that new triangular face on the other side of the prism, we can create another tetrahedron. Repeating this process twice gives us 17 tetrahedrons total. You can imagine repeating this process more times. However, for this shape, one more iteration will cause a self-intersection. But by giving a 20-degree twist to the prism as it's extruded, lets you get a full another iteration out before a self-intersection. This figure has 53 tetrahedrons and 156 squares, which means I would have to cut 624 struts. That's it for this one. Hope you found something interesting, and make sure to subscribe if you want to see the result of me cutting 624 toothpicks.